Hey everybody, welcome back to Fandomly Speaking,
where each week we speak randomly about fandoms. I'm Liza.
And I'm Melissa. And this week we are going to speak randomly about the Hunger Games. Like the whole Hunger Games.
All
movies,
of it.
Books, prequels, the whole thing.
Yeah, so there will be spoilers. If you haven't read or seen any or all of it, we will be talking about everything we know.
Yep.
Just fair warning.
All the spoilers, even for Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yes.
So, because you finished it this week, I finished it last week.
Yep.
So all of the spoilers. And also, just an important warning, we are unmasked and overstimulated GenX autistic women. You have no idea what's going to come out of our mouth because we have no idea.
Right. That's right. We don't know.
Yeah. But so here we are. This is our 5th episode, Liza.
Yay! How did we do that? I'm so proud of us.
I know. I look forward to it so much.
Yes, me too.
What did we do this week in geeking? This week in geeking, I started the Throne of Glass series. I'm like 3/4 of the way through the 2nd book.
Wow.
I'm really enjoying that. And I started listening to Crescent City. And I texted Liza this morning and I was like, wait, Rune is a shadow daddy too?
Rune's my favorite.
Shadows.
I love Rune.
Right.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
But he's her brother, so I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm already almost done with the Vampire Diaries because I've been watching it all day while I work. No, I mean, it's literally on in the background all day, no matter what I'm doing. And I'm in my favorite season, which I think this is season 5. It's the one with the prison world and all kinds of things that I don't want to tell you because I don't want to spoil it for you.
I have certainly not gotten to all that far yet. It's not on all day.
It's not on all day at your house. What's that about? Come on.
I need to do better.
And then last night, right before I went to bed, I watched the first Hunger Games movie.
Yeah, I actually read all the Hunger Games. It wasn't even like in preparation for this week because just FYI, Melissa and I are not prepared. We weren't even planning on doing Hunger Games today.
We were supposed to be interviewing someone and we did a big pivot.
We're going to do something else. And so if we seem unprepared, it's because we are. But I reread all the Hunger Games so that I could read Sunrise on the Reaping. So I've just been depressed all week.
I get that.
That's just depressed. And then I started on Onyx Storm? Started Onyx Storm as well, so I could finish up the.
How are you liking Onyx Storm so far?
I like it so far. I'm maybe a third of the way through. So far, it's not as good as the other two. Like this first.
That's how I felt.
But. It is what it is. I assume it'll get better.
Yeah, I think it's got the very typical 3rd book in a many book series situation where it's setting up the next couple of books.
Right. So far, it's a little slow, especially coming right off of Sunrise on the Reaping and then going to Onyx Storm. It's a little slow for me, but also I think it might be important for us to mention that not only will there be spoilers, but I don't think it's possible to talk about Hunger Games and stay apolitical. So you will definitely probably hear Melissa's and my political opinions a lot.
And you may not agree with them.
Yeah, you may not agree. So just FYI.
Thanks to Liza's help, we have notes. Because I was trying to write notes. I got the text this morning at 6:30 that our interview person was very sick. And I was like, okay, quick. And I'm lying there in bed with my notes app trying to come up with. And then you saved my life. So let's start with the Hunger Games book there. Book 1, girlfriend. So when did you join the fandom?
God, I guess it was 2010. 2010. What you have here that it came out in 2008, which I didn't even know that. But
I had to look it up.
My daughter was born in 2010. And then my husband deployed to Afghanistan for a year shortly after she was born, which was awful. It was awful.
Horrible.
And I had a lot of anxiety. And so I had to move to where my mother lived in a little retirement village, which was fun. It's weird how I got into the fandom because it makes no sense. I was looking for easy books to read, like between when she was napping and when, so I could kind of, do something. And I read Percy Jackson and you're like, what does that have to do with anything? I read Percy
I'm
Jackson.
wondering what made you think The Hunger Games was a good thing to read at that
I
point.
didn't.
Like,
I didn't. I read
Okay.
Percy Jackson, and I was like looking for another little easy thing, and Kindle suggested Gregor the Overlander, and I'm like, okay, another little boy saves the world. It's super easy to read. So I read the Gregor the Overlander series. So cute, so easy to read, and it was like Suzanne Collins also wrote this book. You want to read this one? I'm like, sure, let's read Hunger Games, Suzanne. I like Gregor the Overlander, and so I read it back then. I loved it, but that was a lot.
I did not even know about Gregor, so now I need to go look that up.
They're like Percy Jackson level youth, books.
Yeah.
That level. The first Harry Potter kind of level. They were fun to read between my infant's naps, but
wow.
She also wrote The Hunger Games, and so it suggested that as obvious. If I like these kids' books, I'm going to like this kid book.
Of course.
These are also about children.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's totally about children. And I grabbed it after it came out. I read the first book, and it's funny that was considered young adult. And it definitely kicked off a whole wave. I mean, the books were already out there, like Divergent. And I'm trying to think of I know Divergent tried to be a movie series. Not good. People saw the success of the Hunger Games books, so then that was kind of...
Everybody said, let's kill all the children.
Yes, let's kill all the children. Let's make, severe social stratification a part of the story. Yeah. And let's have a teenage girl save the world.
Right.
And then the first movie came out in 2014. Yeah. And we all went to see it. Like Caden at that point had even read Hunger Games. So we all went to see that. Yeah.
How old was Caden? Like 10 at 2014?
About 11, 10. Yeah. 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 I mean, he read Harry Potter, like all of Harry Potter in 3rd grade. He was pretty good with stuff like that at that point.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to keep our opinions in the book that we're talking about, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So much like Twilight and so many other movies and every book you ever read, they always have to set up a love triangle for these poor women, as if they do not have enough to deal with. We have to give them romantic confusion.
Right.
So we've got Gale and Peeta.
Okay.
So did you have a preference between Gale or Peeta?
Well, since you mentioned we have to keep it in the book that we're talking about, since we're talking about the first book, I remember when I first read through it 100 years ago that it was Gale. I was like, Gale is the one that she should stay with for so many reasons. Many reasons. Since we're not talking about anything else, I thought it was Gale. And I just remember being so irritated by the whole love triangle aspect.
Yeah. I did not like the love triangle, but by the end of the book, I was on Team Peeta because I think, she sets him up initially. You're either reading it or you're watching the movie and you're thinking he's weak and you think he's just one of those ones who's going to like die early.
Sure.
But then I think where Peeta started to win me over, and I honestly don't remember if this is in the book also. I just know it's in the movie because I saw it last night. But I think he also said something similar to this in the book, which is where he said he didn't want this to change him. He doesn't want them to take that away from him. Was that in the book also?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this guy's a lot deeper than the guy who can just lift really heavy flour sacks.
I'm sorry. The whole thing about Peeta cracks me up so much. Like the whole story. Just I was dying laughing when I rewatched the movie last week. It's so funny to me.
It's so funny. It's the part where he paints himself to look like tree bark when he gets injured. How the fuck did he do it? How? He was lying down. How did he get all of the stuff on top of him? He doesn't have a mirror.
Considering the reasoning being that he decorates cakes.
I don't want a cake from him. I'm telling you right now, I don't want to eat that.
He decorates cakes so he can realistically camouflage in a few seconds. Like, that's absolutely hilarious.
That scene in the movie when she looks down and like his mouth is moving and his eyes open and he's got like, Hollywood special effects level makeup on. Like it looks like the ground is talking to her. I was like,
I was pretty sure in the book that what she meant was like he could put like mud and brown, to make himself kind of blend in. And
that's how it looked.
Hollywood was like, you know what?
Yeah. In my head, that's what it would look like. Yeah, but no, they went way too far.
That's so funny. It's so funny to me.
Yeah. And I think the other slightly different thing was between the books and the movies that makes it interesting is in the books, we're in Katniss POV.
Yes, right.
Yes. The whole time.
Obviously you can't make a movie like that. So I think the movie's interesting because it tried to show what was going on when she wasn't around. Like what was going on back home, what was Gale doing, all 200 miners that live in District 12 and somehow, as you pointed out, do the mining for an entire nation.
I actually would love to hear from anyone who can comment on any of this because I still don't understand. And I don't think I even thought about it any deeper than that back when I read it in 2010.
No, I didn't either.
So if you look at the map, you can get it on Google. Just the districts are multiple states. District 12 is like West Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and maybe another one or two. So it's a bunch of states. It's a huge district. But somehow when they do the reaping, it's all in Katniss's little town and it's only a couple hundred kids in the whole little town and they all have to be there. And
they walk there.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works.
We don't see them getting bussed in or brought in on a train. They all, it's all the people that they know.
District 11 is a bunch of states. Like it's like the whole entire South.
It maybe would have made more sense if Effie wasn't there physically, but you had to be there in front of the screen to see if you got reaped. And we saw people in the different parts of District 12 instead of what happens.
Yeah. In Catching Fire, Katniss mentions that District 11 must draw beforehand so they know who's going to be in the final reaping. But I'm like, wouldn't that be the case in all of the districts? Like y'all are multiple states. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
What I find disturbing, well, obviously the concept of the Hunger Games is disturbing.
Yeah.
But kids 14 to 18 are going to go fight to the death.
12
to 18.
Yeah,
right?
12. Yeah. Little ones.
So you see everybody like taking a bath and scrubbing up, things that they don't do every day, to get all fancied up, to go stand somewhere to find out whether or not they're going to die brutally in a battle in an arena against other children.
Right.
And they all do it. And I'm like, do people get in trouble if they show up for the reaping in their rags and covered in coal dust?
I'm guessing that's true, that they do. And again, not trying to cross over, but the difference between the games when Lucy Gray played in Songbirds and then all the way up to Katniss's games are so stark that I'm guessing there had to be some changes made in how they did things in order for them to be entertainment. So there had to be
they were starting to figure out the entertainment piece a little bit more when we get to Haymitch's games.
They're so different. All three games, they're so different.
And by the time we get to Katniss and Peeta's games, it's so high tech and it is such an entertainment phenomenon, and it's like it's just such a whole thing. It's amazing.
I feel like it was kind of like, well, with Lucy Gray's games there was no entertainment part of it. They just were thrown in this crappy arena, brought in cattle cars, starved to death, no training. By the time Haymitch came along, they didn't even have a nice train, no furniture. He did get a little training in a crappy warehouse and they put them in a very nice place. But even then I felt like it was more like a sporting event, like this is a sporting event. We're going to go watch football. And then by the time Katniss came along, it was like high tech Hollywood by that point. It was so that's the evolution of the entertainment industry for the
I think that it shows that over time people were becoming more desensitized to that, and so to circle back to the reality that we live in, when you normalize something horrifying like the Hunger Games, people just start to accept it. They're like, well, that's just the way it is, and we're living it right now, where some really crazy horrible things that have never happened before are happening. And like our media is serving it to us like this is perfectly normal behavior. So we're trying to normalize insanity. And people are falling for it.
Yeah.
So if you're asking yourself, well, this could never happen. Nothing like this could ever happen. Every day, more and more, I'm getting more worried that while not exactly this could happen, something could happen.
Well, I mean, that's in all this media. I told you a couple months ago that I read Handmaid's Tale for the first time. And it, like, half the stuff that leads up to that point has already happened in our country right now without exaggerating or any hyperbole. It's actually happening.
If you're
so strange.
If you're a woman in America who is not currently registered to vote, or if you need to move and go register in the place that you moved to, and you took your husband's name when you got married, or your wife's name or whatever, you won't be able to register to vote because your birth certificate won't match your ID.
Right. Not as of last night.
Yeah. So pretty soon they should be taking away our credit cards. That was 1972, folks, that women became allowed to sign up for credit cards on their own without their husband's permission. That was only 1972 in my lifetime.
Yeah. My mom started a business in 1988 because that was the first year women were allowed to start businesses without, their husband's permission.
1988? Mm-hmm. Holy crap. Yep. Yep. So back to the reaping scene, which is obviously a very normalized thing for them. They're like, well, it's reaping day. Oh,
reaping day.
We're going to take the bath, got to scrub up, got to put on the best clothes we have, shine our shoes. So that it's just, but like the whole, I love that no one claps and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. But
it in later.
Yeah, I'm sure. So would you have done anything different in Katniss's place?
I don't know. I mean, it always cracks me up in all the media when people are so kind to their siblings. I'm like, that wasn't my experience growing up. So much media is about, I went on this long journey to save my brother. I went on this long thing to save I'm like, mine would be like, see, I'm sorry that happened to you, but
We have an actual family example that shows me that if I were Prim, neither of my brothers would have volunteered.
Right.
God, this just came back. Core trauma memory. So we went on this like little train ride somewhere in North Jersey. And it was supposed to be like an old-timey train ride. So we're on the old-timey train ride, and included in this exciting thing is train robbers, like with the bandanas. They hop on the train and they hold you up, and they've given you like some fake coins and stuff. And I was very little. And I mean, they've got guns. Of course, this is not anything you would do nowadays, but in the 70s, this seemed like a fun thing to take your kids.
Yeah.
Let them think they're getting robbed at gunpoint.
Right.
And while thinking you're getting robbed at gunpoint, I have two older brothers. Okay. My brother Buddy's 2 years older than me. My brother Michael is 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
The guy's on the train with the gun, and Buddy says, "Don't shoot my brother, shoot me." And even as a kid, I was like, he didn't say anything about me. He knew. And that's been like, it comes up once every 10 Thanksgivings or so.
You remember that time?
I'm like, don't shoot my brother, shoot me. Or better yet, hey, take that little girl right there. We don't want her.
Yeah, we don't need her.
But if I had a little sister, or if I had a younger sibling, I honestly, if I had a younger sibling, I would have done what she did.
Well, if it was my
older sibling, and I'm not even speaking about my brothers necessarily.
Your fictional older sibling.
My fictional older siblings, I probably would have been really sad and tried to take care of mom.
Yeah, man.
I guess. I don't think I wouldn't volunteer as tribute for an older sibling, but for a younger one, I would have.
Yeah. My daughter read it for the first time last month, and she didn't know anything about the Hunger Games. And she came to me right when she got to that scene. She goes, "This book is where that scene is from." I guess she'd seen memes of like, I volunteer. And she had I'm like, yes.
Yep.
What'd you think it was from? It's just so famous. I volunteer.
Yeah. I volunteer as tribute. Watching the movie last night, one of the things that struck me, and I'm going to watch the rest of the movies this weekend, but you're not going to know what I think now because we moved this up,
exactly.
By a week. But one of the things that struck me, whoever the director is, I don't know. I will try to look that up and do an overlay or something, is that they didn't hurry some of the scenes.
Yeah.
So they allowed really long, uncomfortable pauses. Even in conversations, they did it, which a lot of times dialogue, they're just trying to keep it snappy.
Right.
But it gives, I mean, it creates a tension. And that scene, in my head, the way it goes is they announce Prim's name, and within seconds, Katniss is yelling, "I volunteer as tribute."
She doesn't, though.
It takes a really long time.
Really long time. Yeah, it does.
Really
And she
long.
doesn't do it in the movie. And I can't even remember if this happens in the book or not. She doesn't do it in the movie until she sees that little ducktail. And she's like, I can't let her go.
So now we find out that there is a whole pageant involved with this whole process.
Yeah.
And they find out, like, on the train, right? In the book, they meet Haymitch on the train, right?
No, I don't think so. The book, it's totally different than the movie.
Okay.
In the book, he's drunk and vomits and falls off stage when he tries to get on stage with Effie.
Oh, yes. That would have been better.
The book Haymitch and the movie Haymitch are very different. There's a much more focus put on his drinking and his being and staying drunk and barely coherent the majority of the time than there is in the movie.
I do like movie Haymitch better. And I also realized last night, and it's in my notes that are on my phone, that I actually I kind of have a little bit of the hots for movie Haymitch, which I never thought I had the hots for Woody Harrelson, but there's just something about this broken man.
Yeah.
That's kind of luring me in, and he's got that scruffy beard, and
that's more right. He coherent in the movie than in the books.
But you can tend to like movie Haymitch a little bit better because he's, first of all, Woody Harrelson does a great job of playing him, and he also is shown to be intervening on their behalf way more.
Right. You can see him throughout the games getting them sponsors and stuff like that. And in the book, he's just not that active in doing all of that. So
no. And that makes sense given what we find out happened to him.
Yeah, right.
That whole thing where they ride in on chariots and they have, like you said, it's like, it's such a different thing.
It's Hollywood.
In Haymitch's game, there were chariots. Quite famously, there are chariots.
And that's what I think that's what I mean. Like, the difference in feeling was, it was like, this is more like a sporting event. Like, they're all there drunk and throwing up watching a football game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's how it felt for Haymitch's games. They were all there. Everybody's drunk throwing up. Katniss's games, it was more like, this is a big Hollywood production. We have the cameras and people are going to see this at home. And it's more like they went to a gala. Everybody's dressed up in their finery and they're doing that. It was just a totally different feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Greg gets dumped out of a train car.
After having read the Hunger Games original trilogy, seeing the movies, and then you read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which we will get to, and you're just like, oh, wow.
Yeah, so bad.
They got them in the zoo.
Oof,
geez. Yeah. I mean, at least in the modern day Hunger Games, they get to stay in a beautiful penthouse.
I guess. Like, is one better than the other? No,
I don't really know. So Peeta says he's been in love with the same girl back home. And then he does the whole thing, well, she's here with me, yada, yada, yada. Do you believe that Peeta really had feelings for Katniss at that time?
Yeah, I think so, because in the next two books, I think he reiterates over and over that he was in love with her since school. He talks about multiple times that when they were little kids in school, he would look at her and quickly look away. So yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But I do think that he used that to his advantage. It constantly talks about how Peeta is the best at talking. He's the best at manipulatively talking and getting people on his side. So yeah, he obviously used that to his advantage and had thought that through.
Yeah. I mean, he's a people person and she's not. And that's the whole, difference. I guess I could see it. I guess maybe he was somewhat sincere. Yeah. But I don't think he was in love with her.
Sure, of course not.
He was aware of her. She was kind of cute.
I would say crush, right? That was his town crush.
His town crush. Yeah. Now, by the end of the first book, I am convinced of their feelings for each other. But I also believe, and I believe this throughout the rest of the books, it's a trauma bond.
Sure, of course it is. Absolutely.
So, and it gets even more traumatic as
and that's
we go.
why I said in this first book specifically, I felt like Gale was better because this was a childhood friend. This was somebody she did have feelings for, not someone that she absolutely was thrown into this horrible situation with. Yeah.
Which moment in the arena in the first book hits you the hardest?
Read the rest.
Read the rest. Oh, you want me to read the rest of my notes? Okay. It actually says, which arena moment hit you the hardest and why was it Rue's death? I added that.
Okay. Well, I tried to think of something that wasn't Rue's death because that's obvious, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you watch the movie. I think if you have a good imagination and the book too, but especially when you watch them, and it's not just Hunger Games, it's all of them. Haymitch's games, the Catching Fire, and this first one. One of the worst moments for me in all the games is the very first moment when they all go, what they call the bloodbath, when they all go to the cornucopia. That is just the worst moment. It's horrible. In all of the books, in all of the games,
it's got to be so terrifying. And I think Jennifer Lawrence did an amazing job. And I know there's controversy about her being cast and because she had boobs and she didn't look malnourished. Well, she was a hunter. So her family was eating better than a lot of the people. And so, just saying. But her acting was so good. So the stylist, in the way the movie Hunger Games set up, and I believe they're alone. He's the last person alone with her as well in the book.
Correct.
But she is doing this really amazing trembling thing.
Yep.
That is so. It's not overly played. Like she's not like. Like I've seen people in the movies do trembling and they do like heavy breathing and their head is actually moving. She somehow just makes her body vibrate just slightly enough.
Like she was actually coursing with adrenaline to get ready to do all that.
Yeah. I'm like, how'd she do that? That was really good. Very impressive.
I know. My daughter and I were sitting there watching it, and my daughter's she doesn't emote a lot. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh God, it's coming. It's coming. She's like, stop. For God's sake. Calm down.
Stop pointing out everything. Also.
I know. It's correct.
Let me find my own things.
That's right.
The stylist is the last person alone with these kids before they go to their death.
Right. That's right.
God, that's got to be horrible. Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know. I don't think I'd be able to hold it together every time.
And I know that we haven't. I know we haven't gotten there yet, and I know we kind of do fall in love with her over the series, but that is why after reading Sunrise, I absolutely just fell completely in love with Effie because she is that person for Haymitch. I'm like, oh my God, she's just the best. I never would have thought reading Hunger Games, this first book, I never would have thought I would even like Effie because she seems awful.
Yes, she does. I mean, she's very capital.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about the difference between movie Haymitch and book Haymitch a little bit. And one of these great questions that you came up with was Haymitch a genius mentor or did they survive in spite of him?
I think it's in spite. In spite of him.
It's in spite of him, even in the movie.
In the movie, I don't think there's any genius part of it. I think that he had so many kids, 23 groups of kids that had died that he had to mentor. And maybe in the beginning he tried. I don't know. But there's no way he was still trying by this group of kids that came along.
No.
Especially her being his best friend's kid. No.
Yeah.
He had checked out. I just don't think. I think it was in spite of him. Fire.
Catching Fire. This is a good question because I feel stupid.
Why?
What? Because when did you realize something bigger was going on behind the scenes in Catching Fire? And I'm going to say it took me a really long time.
Well, I don't know what you consider a really long time. I realized only when Johanna comes out with BT and viruses and like, here, I saved him for you. And that's when I was like, oh, something's going on.
I feel like I didn't see it either. So, okay. I don't feel as stupid.
No, I'm as dense as Katniss. I don't know.
Yeah. Because this question made me think, other people figured it out before it was explicitly told to us that something different is going on in this games.
Yeah, that was the first time I thought about it.
That arena and I think that's the coolest arena.
Yeah, it was neat.
And I think it was terrifying because of the water.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That just added a whole new level of complexity
Yeah.
To even just trying to get to the cornucopia.
Right. That was crazy.
Trying to get
half
to
of them
safety.
couldn't swim.
That
well,
was
half of them couldn't
crazy.
swim, but they didn't tell them that their belt was a flotation device.
Yeah.
Poor Peeta. He just is standing out there like, what am I supposed to do now?
What am I doing? With help? I don't know how to swim. Which is stupid because they had to have had swimming holes. And I mean, even in coal country, there's a swimming hole. Which Victor did you love instantly and which one gave you immediate ick?
I don't know that I have a list of who gave me the ick, but obviously Finnick is amazing. I love Finnick. I like him a lot. I don't really have the ick, I don't guess.
So Finnick gave me the ick.
Did he really? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
with his sugar cube flirting?
His sugar cube flirty thing I was like, no, don't. I just love Johanna's attitude.
Uh-huh.
You know, she just was so pissed.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very honest reaction. And that also should have maybe given me a clue that something was going to be very different about this.
How recently have you watched the movies?
I haven't watched Catching Fire in a couple of years.
How recently have you read the books?
A few years.
Okay. I was just asking because I just reread it this week, just on a reread, and just again, what we said before, seeing everything from Katniss's perspective, Johanna is horrible. Just seeing her from Katniss's perspective, she was just awful, just so mean to her in that first.
Yeah, so maybe that's why I'm retconning it in my head because I do end up liking her.
Yeah,
so maybe I'm saying I liked her.
Yeah, and because Peeta was laughing at her at Katniss, he was like, "They're just fucking with you. They're just messing with you because they know that you don't know what's going on."
And of course, everybody ends up loving Finnick.
Yeah,
and a lot of that is because of Mags.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would actually love to see Mag's games. I would love that.
Yeah.
And her games also had to be a shit show because she was in games 11 right after Lucy Gray. So they were still bad. They had to be bad back then.
And I'd like to see Wyrus's game because now we know how she won.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm surprised they let her do that.
That had to be trippy. That had to be trippy games. The mirror games.
And so Finnick, Johanna, they had Mags there. You got Wyrus and Beatty, which I think it's interesting now having read Sunrise on the Reaping. You're like, wow, they punished. This was just, we're punishing all of you now.
All of you. Yeah.
All of you.
I literally just read it this week and I don't even remember who anybody else was.
I think they spent so much time on us getting to know these people who are going to become very important to the story later. I think she did that. Just like in the first Hunger Games, we didn't get to know all of them.
Yeah. I had forgotten, we didn't even talk about this. I had forgotten that Huey was even in the first Hunger Games. Huey from The Boys.
Oh, he's in the first movie and I watched it and didn't know. Oh, wait.
He kills Rue.
That's Huey.
Yeah. Yeah, I had forgotten.
Oh my God,
totally.
It's fetus Huey. He was so young.
He's so little. Yeah, I'd forgotten that he was even in it. And then I said that. I was like, oh my God, when he came on screen.
The overall concept of the Quarter Quell and bringing back all the victors, that sucked.
It was awful. And we know he made that up. I don't know what it was supposed to be, but we know he made that up. Mm-hmm. And we also learn in, oh God, which book did we learn that in? In Haymitch's book, I think, that he just made them all up and said that it was somebody else who came up with those ideas.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because he's an evil piece of
asshole.
Shit.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know what other victors were from Wyrus and Beatty's district. I don't know if there were any alive. I don't remember. But it would have been Wyrus and Beatty who got picked.
Correct.
Anyway. All of these people were picked for a reason.
That's right.
Finnick was picked because of all of the secrets he had.
Right.
And Mags was...
She wasn't picked, though.
Mean.
She volunteered.
Oh, that's right. She volunteered. See, it's been so long since I...
Because Annie was picked, to punish Finnick. That's why I said I love Finnick.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
He carries Mags around on his back.
That's right. No, he's the only one somehow who knows CPR. But I also was like, Katniss, what the hell? Your mom is a healer, babe. Like, what are you doing? What are you talking
know
about?
How to do this? Come on. Yeah. The thing that they do with the Mockingjays or mutts or whatever they are, where they have the screaming.
Oh, the Jabberjay. Yeah, that's awful.
The Jabberjays. I feel like the movie didn't make that as traumatic as it was in the books.
Yeah, it was very traumatic.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like writhing on the ground by the time it was over at the end of that hour.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really give you the full impact of what if you had to listen to your sister scream.
And truly believed that there was only one way to get that scream. She truly believed that they couldn't have gotten it without having recorded it. Yeah.
So comparing Catching Fire, the book, to Catching Fire to the movie, was the book more horrifying?
I think the books are always more horrifying, simply because you imagine more. In my head, I imagine more going on, and you can see how horrible it is.
Were you expecting the arena escape and the rebellion tie-in at the end?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I promise.
No. Nope. I was right there with her. Like, what's going on? I don't know.
Right.
Like, am I trusting these people? I don't know. I had no idea that, this was a thing.
Yeah, same.
The last question for Catching Fire on the list is, was Peeta being captured worse than a death, narratively speaking?
It was bad. And what they did, it was bad.
Yeah, I think him dying would have been horrible.
Right.
But I also think not that she would have gotten over it, but
you say that, and I mean, we're saying that from our perspective. People die in this world like constantly. I think she would have much more easily gotten over his death than what happened to him.
I think it was to be expected. Like, I think, especially now being thrown back into the Hunger Games in this whole situation, and knowing that President Snow is pissed at you.
Yeah.
I don't think you expect that either one of you is coming out alive.
Correct. That's right.
So, yeah, I don't think she would have been surprised. I mean, would she have been sad? Would she have been upset? But I think you go in expecting it. So what they do to him
is awful. Is also, since I just read it, I think I texted you. I'm like, oh my God, Katniss is so annoying. Because this child, I know she's young. Oh my God, I understand. She takes so long to understand what's going on. Even by the epilogue, she's still not quite sure that what has actually happened. And I'm like, oh my God.
She grew up in District 12. I'm trying to find an excuse for that narrative situation. And I think she has no concept that any of this could be happening. Her life has been nothing but hopelessness in a coal mining village from hell.
Yeah.
And I don't think she can even conceive. And I think her going to the Capitol and seeing all of that in the first Hunger Games would make her even less likely to believe that there is anyone trying to resist.
This like 25, 30 year resistance that's been building up. There's no way. Yeah, I agree with you, but still reading it from her perspective, and I'm like, oh my God. Can you please?
You still don't say it.
She didn't
get it.
No.
Yeah. It does take her an awfully long time. So now Mockingjay, which third and final book, was made into 2 movies.
And I can't speak very well on this because it's been years since I've watched this. I'm like you, I was planning on watching them next week.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it was maybe 2 years ago that I watched them.
It's been a while.
So it kind of blends together in one movie in my head. And I feel like this is what I remember of myself. When the announcement was made, and I think they told us when Catching Fire came out that they were going to pull the last book is going to be 2 movies so we can just suck every penny we can out of the fandom. And I recall myself being pissed.
Yeah.
Because I hate when they do that.
They do it for everything. It's not necessary. They do it for everything.
Everything.
And of course we go watch it, but still we don't like it.
I looked up quickly this morning. What did they pad in there to make it into 2 movies? And a lot of the stuff they padded in there is the stuff in both movies that was very ho-hum.
Yeah.
Or so much more than what was in the books.
Right.
And I almost feel like it changed a lot of like my recollection in the books of them filming the propos and and all of that, it was there, but it wasn't as much of a thing. And it feels like it takes up so much movie time. A lot of day-to-day living in District 13.
District
This is what
13.
it's like. I'm like, yeah, we get it. I loved Effie, though.
Yeah.
Movie Effie.
And that's the thing. That's another thing they did pad, because Effie's not in Mockingjay.
No.
The book.
No.
She does not move to 13. She's not coming. I mean, we see her a little later that she ended up okay, and she came in to get them ready for President Snow's murder. Execution.
Yeah, she's in all of the movies way more than she's in the books.
Yeah.
Because she ate that scenery up.
Yes.
She was so good.
I know.
Good.
I'm trying so hard to convince my daughter to be Katniss for Halloween so I can be Effie. I'm like, please let me dress up like this lady.
I would love to dress up like Effie. Especially her very first outfit.
Right.
First movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I love that.
I want to.
Yeah. That's a situation where I think an actor did such a good job that they were like, look, we know she wasn't in the book, but she's being in this movie anyway, because she's so good. And people like her. We know that people like her.
But also what was in the book was her makeup team, who wasn't in the movies. Like, we didn't get to know her makeup team at all, but we get to know them a lot in the book. So they put her makeup team in the books, but they were like, we need to bring a little bit of that capital to District 13. So we'll put Effie in there.
Yeah. I feel like I need to go read all 3 books this weekend now.
Like I said, I've been depressed, man. It's like, it's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but
it's a lot.
There's no shadow daddies in the Hunger Games.
There's nothing at all.
You got me into the world of the shadow daddies now.
That's a lot more fun to read than these worlds. Good Lord.
Katniss as the Mockingjay. Did you buy her becoming a symbol, or was she being used from the start?
No, she's being used.
Yeah.
She's being used from the start. And as much as again, we see later on, as we see Plutarch as part of this resistance, he's still capital through and through. Yes. Always will be. So he's absolutely using an image to do what he wants, using her to do what he wants.
Absolutely. It was clear to me that the resistance people, like Coin and Plutarch and like all those people, it could have been anyone.
Right.
She was just, she was good for this.
Right.
Did they say something in the books about how they could, if she didn't want to do it?
Yeah, they did. And I wish I could remember what was exactly said, but they did. They were like, we'll get somebody else.
Yeah, we'll just get somebody
else. We'll do somebody else. We'll take your place.
Because I mean, we're just going to make these propos. Right. So, we're going to use Katniss because the star-crossed lovers story, we know everybody liked that. And we know everybody's like, whatever. And so we'll use her, but it could have been anyone who had survived. I like the way this question is worded. District 13, noble resistance or just another flavor of control? Obviously the latter.
Yeah, I find it super duper interesting that 13 was essentially the only district that was free. They were not under capital control. They did not have to participate in the Hunger Games. Yet they were the most strict and stringent of all the districts by far.
Yeah,
like that's tattooing your schedule on your arm, and you get jailed if you have extra food, and it's down to counting your calories. I mean, it's like, wow, babes.
I mean, I understand how it kind of got like that, but
yes and no, because they were District 13. So where District 12 is like up in the northeast, and then District 13 was right above that, Maine and Canada. So there was no reason why they couldn't be growing food up there. There was no reason why they couldn't be getting their own crap up there. It shouldn't have to have been so strict and stringent on their citizens.
I'm jumping ahead to the end of the story, but I totally agree with Katniss's decision.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to know what happened after. I mean, we get the epilogue way down the road, but I would have loved to have seen the initial fallout.
Yeah, because what happened after all this shit, and after the whole war that they had again in the capital, and then the whole stuff with Prim and everything, and then Coin wants to do another Hunger Games. Like that makes so much sense. And so my favorite scene in Mockingjay, and it's such a little scene, is this last kind of chapter where they're voting around the table. Do you want the Hunger Games? And so 4 of them have it, and 3 of them, 4 yays and 3 nays. And Katniss says, yep. And Haymitch looks at her because they share kind of and he goes,
yeah,
yep. I'm with Katniss, because he knows exactly what she's planning. And that's just like the best scene.
Yeah. Towards the end, he regrouped a little bit. He got himself a little sober-esque. And then he had to get real sober.
Oh, yeah. In
the final
13.
book. District 13 was not real big on the boozing.
No. Yeah, he had to dry out in there for months.
Yeah, that must have been hell.
Absolutely. He was in medical, so presumably they were doing medical detox. But yeah, absolutely it would
Hopefully. Finnick's backstory, should it have been more of a part of the narrative? I think we got plenty in the book.
Yeah, I would read a book about Finnick's games and Annie's
I would love
games.
to read about Finnick and Annie.
But in this, no, I don't think so.
I think we had just enough Finnick. The bombing of the Capital Children and Prim's death. Was that foreshadowed enough?
That shocked the hell out of me.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Even the second time rereading, I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, wait a second. Yeah. I mean, it is shocking.
Yeah.
No, it was foreshadowed, but not enough for me.
It was shocking. It was senseless. And then the next question is, did Gale deserve the fallout he got from Prim's death? My vote is no, because at this point, Prim would be 13 years old, 14 years old at this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think in the way she grew up and where she came from, and certainly Katniss was making her own choices when she was that young, right? Mm-hmm. She was out there hunting and selling stuff in the hob and all of that stuff. I think it was her choice that put her there.
Yeah. I'm assuming this question that we're talking about the fallout, meaning Katniss's attitude towards Gale. Is that what you think? Is that how you read it?
Yeah, because she's like blaming him for not stopping it.
Well, no, she's blaming him because it was his bomb. It was his idea. He worked with BT on making a bomb that mimicked his snares. So it was literally his idea, and she overheard them talking about, first off, we bomb these people, and then when the healers come in, we bomb them again. So they literally came up with that. So it was Gale's idea and his bomb. But I do think that Katniss's reaction was just her grief. So, I mean, did he deserve it? Whether he did or not, probably not. He didn't mean it to happen.
No, he certainly didn't mean that to happen. That's why I'm like,
just Katniss's grief.
Yeah. I mean, your sister was choosing to put herself in harm's way as a healer. And when you're a medic, so what? You're a medic. You still could get blown up.
Yeah. I can also understand, though, that Katniss would never not be able to see it, not be able to think it. Like, I get it. Yeah, I know that, but yeah.
No, every time she sees him, she thinks about that. Yeah, I get it. I get it. And at this point in the story, I'm so team Peeta.
Yeah.
Because I have such a soft spot for anybody who's had their mental health manipulated that tragically that I'm even more team Peeta at that point. And I also feel that by the time we get into the Mockingjay story, that Peeta and Katniss have experienced things, again, the trauma bond.
Yeah.
That Gale cannot even conceive of.
Correct.
And I'm not blaming him for that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I don't think that he could ever
relate
understand
to Gale again. Probably not. I also think that there's a sentence that Gale says, and I wish I could remember it verbatim. He says, I know which one of us you're going to pick. It's whichever one of us is key to your survival, or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
He's right. That. They both loved and liked her more than she loved and liked either of them.
Yep.
Katniss didn't have to be with either of them, honestly.
Yeah, he was kind of right, but he was also very bitter at that point. Did the love triangle even matter, or was it always symbolic of survival versus peace? The question is fascinating because I never saw it as a
but that was his point, that she's going to choose whichever one of them is best for her survival. Meaning he saw her as very cold and calculated and risk versus reward kind of a person. Yeah, he saw her like that. She didn't appreciate. She didn't appreciate.
I wouldn't appreciate that.
Right.
I would be offended.
She was offended.
I would be offended too.
I was like, I don't know that it was symbolic. I don't know that it was symbolic. I don't think that Suzanne thought that through. It was just a teen book with teenagers.
We need a love triangle.
Right.
That's how we do them.
Right.
So final thoughts on the ending. And it says satisfying, rushed, bittersweet. It depends on what we're talking about. If it's the movie, it took 2 freaking movies to get there.
Yeah.
And that just felt like a little bit much to me. What'd you think about the book since you read it most recently?
One thing that hits me on these books, all 5 of them, is these are books you can't tell people to read and that there's going to be a happy ending. There's no happy ending in any 5 of the books. Even this last book, there's no happy ending. Even by the end of it, when she and Peeta are in their epilogue and they have kids, she is still so deep in PTSD. She talks about that she has to explain to her children why her nightmares are so bad. I'm like, my God, it's so bad.
I was surprised that they chose to have children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was too.
I would just feel like even if everything was sort of okay at that point, I would never trust that things would stay okay.
Right.
Never.
I agree.
So that I found very surprising. I could have seen them being together, a couple of dogs, maybe. I don't know. But not the kids was like, wait, you what? What made you think that was a good idea? I mean, this problem is not over by the end of the book.
I wondered that in the entire series. Like, why are y'all having children? This is bad, you know?
Yeah. You have to keep making more workers. Do you not realize that that's a problem?
Right. That's right.
Probably something you shouldn't be doing. So now we're going to switch over to the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I'm going to say, look at Liza.
The worst.
I did not like it.
I didn't either.
So many reasons.
It wasn't a bad book.
No.
It wasn't a bad book, but it's exactly like watching those prequels to Star Wars. You can't like Anakin because you know what he turns into. I don't care how cute that kid is. Mm-hmm. You know what he becomes. You know the choices he makes. He's not a good person. He sucks. So this is the same thing. There was no way to humanize Snow. No part of this. He was awful. And so you know how awful he's going to be. And even by the end of it, he's just terrible.
And I felt like there was a weird attempt by Suzanne and maybe she was trying to show like, this is how someone can go from being a reasonable, normal person to becoming the evil person that President Snow is.
Right.
They've got family shame and they're actually poor and like all of that stuff.
But they're capital
even
poor.
First of all, as I was reading it, I was like, that's bullshit. That never happened. Even though it's a fictional universe, Melissa.
That's hilarious.
There were just a lot of things that I didn't like about the story that all come back to exactly what you said.
Yeah.
I can't have sympathy for him.
But even from the start,
no matter how hard you try, I can't.
Even from the start, even with the good decisions he made, it was all selfish. He was a spoiled brat. Yep. He was always conniving. He was always trying to figure out an angle. Mm-hmm. Everything he did was for his own self. I mean, it's just, there was never a time when you were like, yeah, I really like that guy.
No, it was all there. He was not likable even in that book, which
I saw the red flags.
Yes.
Ding, 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 the red flags, Melissa. Go me.
Yay! You saw the early abuser possibility in him.
I mean, it was already told to me, but I saw it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the interesting things from that book was showing us, what, like you said, what the early games were like. I was confused by the introduction of the Covey. Mm-hmm. Like, why couldn't it have just been a girl from District 12?
District 12. I think that the whole point was that Covey was a little more free. She was never going to be settled in District 12, and they are constantly talking about leaving, doing their own thing. They were a little more rebellious at heart to begin with than the districts. I think. Okay. So she was a little more of a free spirit than these beat down district kids, Okay. I mean, that was how I read it, especially with Haymitch's book as well.
The parts of the book that I found interesting and horrifying was the creepy doctor.
Yeah.
With all the creepy experiments.
So I guess Suzanne's whole point with this book was just to give us the history, right? Yeah. Whether we like Snow or not, here's the history that you didn't. Why did it get that way? How did we get here? I guess that was it. And it was fascinating. really, I mean, if you're into the Hunger Games, the whole thing was fascinating.
The early, genetic experiments that were going on that later on lead to mutts, which later on lead to, I guess, virtual mutts in the movie. Oh, you know what? This is the one thing virtual mutts. I'm like, I don't understand. What were those were the trees holograms? What were you trying to tell me in this movie? But the one thing that they changed in the movie versus the book of the first of Hunger Games that always annoyed me, and I thought about it last night, at the end, the mutts that come after them have the faces of the kids who died.
That was the only thing that really bothered my daughter. She was like, that is not what happened.
I'm like, that just looks like a mean dog.
And that they fell asleep while Kato was being disemboweled underneath them for hours. And in the movie, she basically he was dead immediately.
Just a little mercy shot. I guess
my daughter was like, that's not what happened. Like, she was waiting on him to die for an hour.
We're like, geez, he's not dead yet. I just thought I guess they couldn't figure out how to do it, because that to me was horrifying.
It was.
That Absolutely. Was good horror.
Which also is weird, though, because in all the other games, they're supposed to ship those bodies back to the families. What are they, shipping those dog mutt creatures back to the families? Gross. That's even worse.
It freaked me out so much in the book. Yeah. So I'm kind in a way glad I didn't have to see it, but I saw it in my head, and it was horrible. It was horrible. The games back in the day when President Snow was just a young peacekeeper person. Mm-hmm. I mean, they just throw them in an abandoned
crappy arena.
A crappy abandoned arena.
Yeah, like a crappy sports arena type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's empty. Nobody watches. It's not even for entertainment yet.
And when they put them in the zoo and people come and feed them like they're zoo animals.
Right.
It's like, wow, okay. Yeah, the Capitol really, really, really got these people trained to think of other humans as not human.
Yeah, and we can say that it was all, I don't know if it's all, but it's all Snow who changed the games. He came up with the sponsor gifts. He came up with them being broadcast. He came up with this, pretty much the evolution of it was his idea.
Yeah. Yeah, so we don't like him.
No! God, he's the worst.
He's horrible. He's horrible. Even in his romantic feelings towards Lucy, there was still a lot of self-serving, just BS that really didn't.
It was. I don't know. He was a narcissist, and that's how they treat people.
Yep.
The only good part, the only good moment in all 5 books about Snow, period, is the very end of Mockingjay the very end of Mockingjay when she shoots Coin, because he had told Katniss, he's like, I know we've had our moments, but I told you I'd never lie to you. And so he had told her that Coin was going to do all this. And she shoots Coin, and he just started laughing, and he laughed himself to death. I'm like,
yeah,
that was the best. That was just the best part of Snow right there.
Yep. We could go with that. Yeah.
I liked that. That was a good death.
It's a good. He had a well-deserved death. So Sunrise on the Reaping. So
thanks a lot, Melissa.
Hey, I didn't write it.
Oh my God. Just rip your heart out book. If you guys haven't read it, just stop right now and go read it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Come back to this part of the podcast after you read the book. Brutal.
It was awful.
Brutal. And I mean, I assumed, here's what I thought. I figured Haymitch was the way Haymitch was because he was a victor and then had to spend, you said, the next 23 whatever years every year
losing kids,
taking 2 kids to the Capitol and watching them die.
Right.
And that's why he was such a mess by the time we meet him. But it turns out it's even worse than that.
Yeah, and having just read the book, I have no memory of if he says this in the movies at all. I don't think he did. But in the books, he tells her I'm almost positive it's in Mockingjay, he says, yeah, they killed my ma and little brother and my girl. And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. So I knew when he got home, it wasn't going to be good. So I was
yes. Yeah, I don't think that's in the movies.
Yeah. So he tells her that in the books. And I was like, this ain't going to be good. It's not going to be good.
And So obviously this just more deeply informs our understanding of Haymitch. And again, there's like seeing the evolution of the games to where it is by the time we get to where now Haymitch is competing in the first quarter quell.
This is the second quarter quell. 50 years.
Quarter quell. Yeah, 50 years. Quell. And
so
they're like,
oh, we've got quell. There was some guy from District 2 won it, I guess, according to Wikipedia, because I had to look that up. Yeah. And that was the one they had to choose which kids went. And they did like lotteries to choose which kids went.
Well, because you wouldn't want to choose. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit more refined.
A little more entertainment, but still pretty janky.
Yeah. Definitely still kind of crappy. But we've got Caesar Flickerman.
Caesar Flickerman has come onto the scene. But there's a lot of debauchery happening in the Capitol. That first time when they meet Caesar and everybody in the audience is drunk, throwing up on each other, and like, I mean, it's weird. It's nothing like when Katniss comes in.
No,
and that's more like American Idol when Katniss comes in.
Yeah. Yes, it's definitely more woo. And but the gambling, and then seeing the Capitol manipulation of the games, because they score Haymitch in the all-important scoring, and that's when he's like, I need to protect all these kids, and the best way I can protect all of my doves is to stay away from them.
Yeah.
Which doesn't turn out working out exactly the way he wanted it to.
No, it did not. It did not. And
it seemed like a good idea.
It was so crappy how they had District 12 no makeup people, the worst team ever, university students,
crappy miners outfit that doesn't fit.
No Vixers there to be their mentors, which is how we get to see Mags. I think that this book, even though it was awful, was more like a fan service book almost. It's like, let's bring back all these people you like. You know, so Mags and Wirus got to be their mentors, which was awesome.
Yes, Mags speaks.
Yes, she was great.
Yeah. And then Beatty, we find out more of his story, which is horrible. It was awful. And Beatty's son has probably, in my mind, the worst death scene in any of the Hunger Games.
And that's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot, because Ruse breaks your heart, but Alpert's, it's not just heartbreaking, it's horrifying.
Horrible. Yeah, all of it.
Squirrels.
Mutt squirrels. Down to the bone. Horrible.
Down to the bone.
And having BT have to watch all of it.
Yeah.
Just awful. Yeah, the whole thing awful.
So it's like, okay, well, I totally get why he's in the resistance. Yeah. But then the weird thing is that he and his wife have another kid.
Yeah.
It goes back to your question. So you've been in the Hunger Games. Okay. And you already have one kid who is eligible to get reaped.
Right.
Why are you having another one?
Right. Exactly. That's exactly.
Especially I mean, I don't know. Is contraception not available?
I would guess there's no contraception available at all.
Even when there's no contraception available, there's always a woman in town who knows what herbs to give you. So
that's right.
That's always been a thing. What's more upsetting, the twist about how he wins or what happens after?
What happens after?
Yeah. What happens after is pretty bad. And
awful. I mean, we knew what happened in Haymitch's games because in the book, Peeta and Katniss watch in order to go.
Yeah.
They watch. So they'd already told us. They said he was stumbling through this hedge with his intestines falling out. And I'm like, oh dear. So seeing him do this poor kid and knowing what's coming. So we knew what was coming. At least I had just read it. So I knew it was coming. But then how he goes home and has to find his mom and brother right when he gets home. But I don't understand. That's a lot of God in the Machine stuff happening. How did that happen right when he got there? How did the gumdrops get there? How did he know? How would President Snow have even known he gave her gumdrops?
How long were those gumdrops there? And did it not rain? I mean, soil is damp.
Yeah.
That
and in
bag
Appalachians.
Yeah. So the first clue that something was up should have been a perfectly undamaged bag of gumdrops.
Because at this point, Haymitch had been gone for months.
Yeah.
Months.
So That was and he sees her find the bag and she's all excited about it. That would have been the moment where you jump up and you go, no,
yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. I think one thing we forget, at least I easily forget, is that these books are meant to be 300 years in the future. So I think we think about them a lot as almost like Wild West kind of stuff, like they're old timey, but they actually are far in the future. So supposedly they have cameras everywhere in District 12. That's how Snow knew all about Gale and Katniss and all that stuff. So maybe that was what it was, that there was cameras and he was watching because he doesn't have anything better to do. I don't know.
Yeah, like let me watch this particular kid, or let's do it.
But he didn't even have beef with
somebody do a deep dive on this guy because I want to punish him and his whole family. I do love the part in it where Haymitch drinks the milk instead of giving it to Snow because Snow's got the poison thing that he's, that we learned it's how he avoids getting poisoned. Is just,
he just drinks the poison himself.
Just drinks the poison. And I love when Haymitch drank the milk. I was like, oh, that was good. But
it was really fucked up. He sent him that milk to keep Welly from being poisoned.
Yeah. Yep. It's like, I know what you did.
Now, this is not mentioned in the book, so I wanted to ask what you think. Do you believe that it was because the whole entire arena is just poison, that this was very obviously Snow's designed arena? Usually it's a game maker designing everything. So this whole arena was very clearly all Snow's design.
Absolutely. Especially because things that were cute were deadly.
Yeah.
And that's a very Snow-like thing to do, I think. Look at this beautiful, adorable thing. It's going to eat your face off, literally.
Oh, I have notes that I forgot that I had made notes on this.
Oh,
my favorite thing. And I just put in there, I was like, taser butterflies.
Oh, yes. Those were so, I was like, wait. What is going on with the butterflies?
So we found out why he called Katniss Sweetheart.
We have to talk about the whole Luella thing.
It broke my heart 10 times over.
Poor Luella and Lulu.
Luella and Lulu, both little girls. Yeah, but poor Luella. I was actually not expecting that to happen at all when she died in the chariot. That was so out of left field.
I know. I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
And then it's so horrible. It's like this poor girl, wherever they grabbed. Do we know what district she ended up being
11.
from? The one that it is 11. I was thinking that, and I wasn't sure if I was making that up. And but they can brainwash really fast, even back then.
They think that she was a rebel's kid, so they thought that maybe they had those people for a while.
Okay, so she was already
pretty
wiped, and they just gave her
a new face. I always thought that Haymitch was being a smart ass calling Katniss sweetheart. Hey, sweetheart. But finding out that it was not that broke me.
Yeah, and I do like that in this book they gave us just a second in the book where he mentions seeing little Katniss.
And the epilogue,
yeah. I was like,
just like his sweetheart.
Yeah. Oh, it was horrible. Is Katniss Covey? Because she sings.
I don't think so. I don't think so because they have this whole thing about the way everybody looks, and she's supposed to be seem because they have the olive skin and gray eyes. And that's how they convinced everybody that she and Gale were cousins.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're supposed to be.
Okay.
But in this book, we learned Lenore Dove was Haymitch's girlfriend, and Haymitch's best friend was Katniss's dad. So he learned all those songs from her.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And that's why her mom would get mad when she would sing The Hanging Tree. But we did get to see Katniss's mom and dad at the reaping. Yes. We didn't even know their names before this book.
No. Oh, yeah, we didn't really. We didn't. And then, what is his name? Otho Malark? What is...
Oh, yeah, I didn't remember that. Yeah, I guess
and
so.
he's like a big strapping doofus as well.
I learned about Maisie Donner after we heard about her in Catching Fire and The Pin.
Yes.
I love her character a lot.
Oh, I love her character. I thought when they said that the girls were twins, wrote in that's right, I didn't bring my Kindle downstairs. I wrote in my Kindle twin swap. Like I thought there was because why were they twins?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just because in one of the books, I think it was Catching Fire, and we were talking about the pin, and Katniss's mom was like, "Oh yeah, that was my friend Maisie Donner's pin. She and her sister liked jewelry, all that stuff." So it was just put in there. So I guess she had to write it in this one that way.
Yeah. It's like, this is how this ended up in the back of a drawer. But I did end up loving Maisie.
Yes.
I think she's a great character.
She's kind of a Johanna type character.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think her, we start to realize, well, the hard shell and the attitude has been developed in order to protect herself from everything that's going on around her. And I know it sounds weird to say, it has to be hard to grow up with some level of wealth in District 12.
It does.
Because everybody hates you.
Right. Because what was Katniss's friend, Madge? That was Maisley's like niece or something like that, something right? Like that. Yeah. The same thing. Nobody was her friend except Katniss because she had money. Yeah. Mayor's kid. I texted Melissa partway through by reading this. I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea the ages of all these people. So in this book, we start to see the ages of everybody.
Yeah.
So like Haymitch was only 40 years old when Katniss and Peeta were reaped. And BT was 57 during that quarter quell.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Like we didn't see. I didn't know all of that.
Yeah.
We get the years that they're in this book, in this Sunrise book, we get the years that their reapings were. So yeah, we get to see exactly how old they were. That's crazy. That's I didn't realize he was so much older than Haymitch. I thought they were about the same age. Woody Harrelson really threw me off.
Well, Woody Harrelson because it almost feels like by the time you get to Mockingjay that she was writing Woody Harrelson Haymitch instead of the original Haymitch anyway.
Yeah.
And certainly this book it's Woody Harrelson Haymitch.
Right. Yeah.
This book. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I can see how he ends up book Haymitch maybe, but he just has a lot more snark,
He does. Yeah.
He does. I can hear everything he says. You can hear it in Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we know what happened to Lucy Gray?
Oh, is she out there? Is she not? Where is she?
She's not in that graveyard, is she?
No, I don't think they mention her grave.
So.
No. Because don't the Covey bury their people somewhere else?
Yeah, he found those graves. Katniss's dad took him to those graves, and he mentioned multiple graves.
No, she's definitely not there. No.
Yeah. I put in my notes, I went, oh my God, baby Effie. I loved it. I loved being able to see Effie.
I did
baby
too.
Effie.
That was her big break, was Haymitch. Yeah. She had a victor.
So we also see why they're so close, even though they're so different. They're so different. It makes no sense, but we see why they're so close.
From that original trauma that they go through. And then every year they get to meet up again and hang out.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Do it all over again.
I put in here the quote. It says, either the arena's malfunctioning or I've been licking toads. That was my favorite.
Well, because there's that creepy guy he's supposed to be one of their
stylist.
Their stylist. And he licks the poisonous toads because they're like LSD. They'll make you trip. And so he has live toad earrings.
Yeah, he was really all with the reptiles.
A lot of little details in this book captured how perverted the Capitol people are. He's wearing live animals hanging off his ears that are going to die.
He says that. He's like, they'll be dead by the end of the evening. Weird. I do think we find out a lot about Haymitch's character here. Maisie, before she died, she told him, she said, one of us has to be the worst victor in history.
Yes.
And I think he tried to do that for her, not only from what he went through, but he was like, you know what, that is what I'm going to be. I'm going to be the worst victor they ever had.
But I also felt like maybe that was his intention, but I think he ends up just confirming for the rest of Panem that the people in 12 are the lowest form of life because this is their victor. Imagine trotting that man out every year as he continues to descend into complete alcoholism. And he gets, like in the book, he's paunchy. I mean, he's not in good shape.
Yeah, that's what I said in the first book. He throws up and falls off the stage. It's just bad.
Like, every year he's just falling apart more. And he's like, rebellion. And I'm like, or not.
Alcohol.
Maybe could have taken this in another direction. I think Maisie didn't mean this.
Yeah.
I think she meant uncooperative, maybe.
Once he won What did you think about Suzanne's decision to do a recap of the entire book? I've never seen another book do this in my life. I didn't hate it, but
I didn't understand. Did she need more pages? Or did she think we forgot?
I don't know. I didn't understand it. I didn't hate it, but I'd never seen it happen before. So that was a weird choice to make. They put poor Haymitch in a bird cage.
Oh my God. That was... So again, the level of debauchery.
The audacity of those people.
And then they bring him food and like stick it through the cage, which he eats.
Yeah, well, he said through the whole thing that they just see them as animals, little piggies, got claws, that he's just an animal.
Yeah. So I'll eat the food. Why not? You know, they did everything they could to humiliate and abuse him. Of course. I'm just surprised that Snow let Haymitch live.
Yeah. I know.
All those years, especially because now we find out by the time we get to Mockingjay that there has been, like you said, an ongoing rebellion, like at least 30 years, because Plutarch is already, and I thought that was weird. I was like, he's outing himself way too early.
We do not have that. I don't have that here, and we don't have that here. What's going on with Plutarch? What has happened? Like, I don't understand his character at all. He is very capital, very, very capital through and through, but also part of this rebellion. I don't understand him. I don't get it.
I don't. The only thing I can think of is that maybe ultimately he wants to be the power behind the power. Because some people want to be that. Some people want to be in charge, and some people want to be the hand up the puppet's butt, you know? And I think Plutarch wants to be the hand up the puppet's butt, whoever the puppet ends up being.
Yeah.
Because he can think like a horrible, devious, capital person and create horrifying games. Remember what I just said? Like, that his game is one of the most friggin' horrifying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, from 25 years ago, you mean to tell me he was already planting seeds of rebellion?
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't understand him or his character. I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, I think Plutarch is like little rich boy who has too much time on his hands, and so he plays revolutionary. But I don't think he ever actually intended for there to be a revolution, unless he's going to win the revolution, because that's the part he plays. By the time we get to Mockingjay, he's the hand up coin's ass.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's leading the charge on let's turn Katniss into a symbol and let's make her do all of this BS stuff.
It does feel a lot like he doesn't really care what happens, as long as he's there. I just want to be part of it.
Am I going to be on the winners team?
Yeah, true.
Works for me. Right. Yeah, I don't like Plutarch at all. And I liked him less after Sunrise on the Reaping, because I'm like, really? Way back then? Really?
Exactly. Yeah, that was my thought too. That's what I said. I can understand how he got there, but seeing that it has been so long, I was like, what are you talking about? What does this mean? I don't understand this person or his character or who he is.
And I don't understand how he hid it for so long. In a world where, like in the world we live in right now, everything you say and do is recorded and the government can find it, right? How did President Snow not know that Plutarch was part of the resistance?
Right.
How did he depend on him for so long? I mean, you see what happens to, what's the guy, the games maker in the first games? He's got like a Seneca Crane?
Seneca Crane.
Mm-hmm. Seneca Crane. Mm-hmm. I mean, he screwed up and they were like, here, eat some Nightlock, you're dead.
Yeah, right? That's right.
I find it hard to believe that they did not know, that nobody had surveillance on Plutarch enough to hear the stuff that he was saying to people.
Especially because his fingers were all like, he knew everything about BT, like they were all in it all together, so they had to have been communicating all that time. 25, or maybe not, since it took 25 years. Maybe they weren't really good at communicating.
Like, okay, we really screwed up that time. Because that was one of the things in my notes, was like, didn't we do the let's break the game thing 25 years, well, 26 years later? No, 25 years later.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Didn't we do that? Why are we doing it
didn't
in the
work.
past?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we have come up with a better plan?
Yeah, so that actually you're right. So that actually makes it even more interesting that in Catching Fire, BT's the one trying to break the games when it didn't work the first time. Maybe he just wanted to do it himself. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, he thought he could do a better job. I don't know. But
maybe. So strange.
maybe.
I had a question for you I didn't ask over text that I put in here. So at the end when Haymitch feeds poor Lenore Dove those gumdrops, which I'll be happy to never read that again. And he calls her uncles out and Tam Amber comes out and he says, "Not again." What does that mean? What did that mean? I know the Covey obviously got caught and put in District 12, but I didn't understand what he was talking about. So if anybody knows, let me know. I don't know.
If anybody can come up with a what not again are we talking about? Is it like, oh, did that girl eat candy and die again? Or
what not again? What do you mean?
What not again? Or was it not another one of our girls struck down by the Capitol?
Maybe.
What was it?
Yeah, maybe so. That could be. That's a good thought.
Maybe that's what he meant.
But I mean, is he even old enough to have known Lucy Gray? That would have been like 40 years previous.
But I gotta imagine there's a legend of Lucy Gray.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, sure. I don't know. I didn't understand that part.
Yeah.
I did find it funny that they tried to say that Poe's The Raven was a ballad.
So I need to tell you that I absolutely hate when people put poetry or song lyrics into books. I have hated it my entire life. I refuse to read the poems and the song lyrics because I have hard time here. That's what I have realized. But I do love Edgar Allan Poe. But if I saw that friggin' poem show up one more time in that book, it's in there a little bit too much.
That's a lot. And the whole point is that the Covey names their kids a song and a color. Well, the Raven's not a song. So in 300 years, did they forget?
No, I think in 300 years, somebody put it to music with a banjo. Quote the Raven nevermore.
I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
What the heck?
So, having talked about all of the books and talking about Sunrise on the Reaping, do we want more books about the other victors and characters?
I don't know if we want them, but I will read them.
I will read them if they happen.
Yeah, I'll read them if they come out. Yeah. Like, it's going to all be awful, whatever it is, because nothing good happens in these books.
No, but I kind of want to know more about this resistance that was supposedly going on all this time.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would like to see maybe something between Haymitch's games and then when we get to Katniss and Peeta and like, how did we get there? I mean, we've got 25 years to explore, but I do not want to see Haymitch continually lose 2 kids every year.
I know. Yeah, I've had enough of poor Haymitch because I just can't handle it anymore.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Maybe we could go to a different district.
Yeah. Which I think maybe what we were talking about earlier of do you want to see Finnick's games, like those kinds of like different games where we know the victors.
Yeah, I would definitely be down to see Finnick's games. And like I said, and like, Wiress, because first of all, I think that sounds visually crazy.
Yeah.
But also she wins in a really cool way. So.
She does. Although if Suzanne had to put in like a whole chapter of recap for this one, I don't know how she would even write out Wiress's games if all she did was go sit on a ledge for like 10 days.
Be like, and 3 days later, she was still sitting on a rock. 1 week later, still on the rock.
Still on that rock.
So we would love to hear. We know we have talked for a very, very long time in a somewhat organized but disorganized fashion about all things Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So now we want to hear from you. Tell us, please comment on all of the things we've said, things you disagree with, fill in the gaps that we totally forgot to if you're like, you never talked about this.
Right.
And so tell us about it. And how do you feel about some of these things? And who would you want to see the next book about? We're kind of agreed it's Finnick, but maybe you have somebody else. Maybe you want to see Mags or something. So let us know that.
Yeah. I know at the end of this that I'm going to be like, oh God, Melissa, we didn't talk about this. There's going to be so many things I'm going to wish that I'm going to text you later, all the things that I want to say.
But we pivoted quickly. So we made it work. And then we managed to talk for 2 hours. So, because it's the Hunger Games and we love it. And that's what's great about fandom, that you can get lost in these worlds and then share it with someone else Thank God, Liza. Because, you know, Caden doesn't want to talk about it anymore, and none of my friends who have even read The Hunger Games have read the book yet. So thank you for jumping on that.
Yes.
So I need to talk to somebody.
I know. Yeah. You definitely need therapy after reading some of these books.
You do, guys. Don't if you're down, do not attempt reading.
I agree.
Wait on it. Now might not have been the best time for us to have read.
Yeah. Haymitch's book, I would actually say, is worse than Katniss and Peeta's book.
I absolutely agree.
Like the brutality of what happens in it is just worse on all counts.
It is. And you're like, how could that be?
Be in a good place. If you're gonna
be in a good place. There's a lot of really, really hard. And you know, especially because a lot of the kids it was more of like the younger, skinny, starving kids, I felt.
And they were all on a big team. They all liked each other. We're all on a big team. It was terrible. Awful. So yeah. Be in a good place if you're gonna read these ones.
Definitely. Thank you so much for watching us. Please check out our Patreon where you can get the unedited stuff. You'll have our stupid notes and other things, maybe some screenshots of weird texts that go back and forth between Melissa and Liza during the week. Because they do. Mm-hmm. And follow us, subscribe to us, do all the things. We really appreciate you if you're watching. We're filming this before you've ever even had a chance to watch us. So if you're watching us, damn, we're so happy right now. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will see you again next week, where we will get more random about fandom.
That's right. And please leave us any and all comments about what fandoms you want us to dive into next.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.